Yes, Mr. Moss.
Thank you, sir. PC Fairclough, before the overnight adjournment, I'd been exploring with you the steps that you had taken by way of initial actions and checks that you had done when you were in your vehicle, still at AR's family home. Can we turn as our first topic this morning, please, to what you did once you had left the vicinity of the address? And I think it's right that you then went to a police station where you would have access to a desktop computer to complete further actions on the paperwork. Is that right?
I never actually made it to the police station. That's when the incident on the bus was called in. But that was my intention, to get to the police station, as there are certain actions that you cannot update on the Pronto, on the Samsung.
So when we see actions that you did update, did you ever get to a, inverted commas, proper terminal to do those?
Not before the interaction with AR.
So that was all later, was it?
Yes.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
We know, sir, for your note, it's Lank 30427.
Thank you.
That there was reference in the exchanges you had with the control room that you were heading back or intending to head back to the police station. And so that it is not misunderstood or overlooked, in terms of immediate actions around the scene, in terms of looking for AR, I think other officers were involved in that immediate search. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. In terms of documents that were involved, could we just have a look, please, back at the incident log? So that's Lank 4045. And can we go to page 8? And if we go to the last 8 lines or so, the bottom of the page, please, we can see some entries made. One of them being at 12:55, 8620, being the number there. Is that you?
Yes.
Yep. Calling around taxi companies to see if they've picked AR up this morning. And have spoken to Ormskirk CCTV. They're going to do a trawl of CCTV. There are 2 cameras, told us about that. Those 2 entries were made at 12:55 and 13:04, respectively. Insofar as it matters, where would you have been when you made those updates to the incident log?
I believe I was still parked outside the address at that point.
Those sort of updates you could do on your Samsung device, could you?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Would you also have completed further parts of the missing from home report? If you want to look at it again, it's Lank 4082. We've seen this already. Would some aspects of this have been completed by you at that stage?
Yes.
And also the risk assessment that we've looked at previously as well, but let's just briefly remind ourselves, Lank 4083. Was that the completion of that document at that time as well?
Yes.
Thank you. Your researches on the systems, as you told us yesterday, had led you to understand that AR had a prior conviction when you checked the PNC.
Yes.
And you gained more information from the discussions at the address. Did you consider changing that risk grading from medium to high at that stage?
No.
Why did the conviction not change matters?
Because I was looking at the risk to himself rather than the wider public.
And recapping from yesterday, perhaps slightly, is that something which you've learned about since in terms of the importance of looking at the risk overall, not just the risk to self?
Yes.
Just keep your voice up.
Sorry.
Thank you. The creation of the missing from home report for a child on Connect, should we understand that that automatically sends a notification to the local authority?
Yes, I believe there's an op-in compass referral for the school.
So the act of completing that report would have raised that referral without you specifically having to make a separate referral?
I believe so.
If you hadn't been able to get to a terminal where things would have been more user-friendly, you refer, can we have it on the screen please, blank 30273, page 5. So what you said there is, I then left the vicinity of the address with the plan to update the MFH report on a desktop computer at the police station because the actions cannot be done on a Samsung device. If there were limitations on the Samsung device, did you at some later stage use a desktop computer to search more widely?
I can't recall doing that.
And what was it that you couldn't do on the Samsung device that you're saying here in 21 that you needed to do on a desktop computer?
You can't update the actions, so once the missing from home report on the Samsung has been finalised, which was on the instant log before, you can no longer update it on your Samsung device.
And did you do that, the update of the actions, at some later stage?
It would have been done because AR was found before we got back to the station.
Follow, thank you. But it does mean, does it, that throughout the totality of your dealings with AR on this day, you never got to the stage of looking at intelligence reports and information on Connect in relation to him on a desktop computer where things were more user-friendly and more easy to research?
Yes, that's correct.
We'll look perhaps at the closure later on, but would you accept that it would have been better practice for you to have done so even after AR had been found?
Yes.
Because, again, reverting to a document we looked at yesterday, could we have back on screen Lank 4064? In the main text, please, Sarah, at the bottom of the page. This is the document where you told us you wouldn't have access to the second page. But as we looked at yesterday, the first page of this intelligence report, which I think would have been accessible by you, would have given you the information about AR having previously been searching for school shootings in America.
Yes.
Thank you. Let's move on then, please. That can come down from the screen. Let's move on to the stage of AR being found on a bus and your own encounter with AR on the 17th of March. You tell us in paragraph 24 of your statement that at 2:40, the Force Control Room was contacted by a coach driver who reported that a young black male had got onto the bus and, quote, began to get stroppy. Is that right?
Yes.
And is that something which you heard at that stage on your radio, or were you not aware yourself of that direct report?
No, the first I heard of it was when Sergeant Clark heard the transmission.
Thank you. And as you tell us in paragraph 25, it seems to be Sergeant Clark, as you've just mentioned, who made the link, as it were, and said, I believe that we can get a proper description that maybe our missing person, AR, and then PS Clark gave the log reference for the missing person, yes?
Yes.
As a result of that, taking matters shortly, both you and your colleague PC Rhodes went to investigate in your separate vehicles.
Yes.
As it happens, I think PC Rhodes arrived slightly before you. Is that right?
Yes.
And as you tell us in paragraph 27, PC Rhodes had already established that the youth on the bus was AR.
Yes.
You say, I think, that this was about 25 minutes after the initial report. Can we just pick it up with you being at the scene yourself with PC Rhodes? When you got there, where was AR at that stage?
He was sat at the back of the bus.
And where was PC Rhodes?
She was stood in front of him.
At the back of the bus?
Yes.
And what was AR's demeanour? How did he seem?
He seemed calm and compliant. He was sat in a slouched position, but he was engaging with PC Rhodes, or it appeared so.
Presumably, as the bus had stopped, there were some passengers still on board the bus?
Yes, I remember several elderly female passengers on board.
Was the driver present?
There was a male stood in the doorway who I later found out was the driver.
And did you go towards PC Rhodes and AR yourself?
Yes.
Was anything said at that time?
We asked him to get off the bus. We weren't sure what his demeanour was going to be like, and if we did end up having to fight with him, we didn't want to do that on an enclosed space, such as a bus.
So at that stage, it was an instruction for him to get off the bus?
Yes.
And he was apparently compliant in the sense that he did say?
Yes.
How was his conduct? Was he aggressive? Was he calm?
He was very calm.
And he got off the bus with the two of you. Was anything said at that stage about the knife?
Yes, when we got initially off the bus, I can't remember who asked the question, but he was asked a direct question, has he got anything he shouldn't have?
Yeah.
And that's when the knife was produced from a pants or shorts pocket.
So from his trousers or
Yeah.
pants or shorts, yeah?
Yeah.
What kind of knife was it?
I would describe it as a kitchen knife with a dark coloured handle and a short, non-serrated blade.
So the sort of knife chopping vegetables rather than a carving knife?
Yes.
Was there any difficulty in getting AR to hand over the knife?
No, he'd done it at the first time of being asked.
Was he searched for
Yeah.
any other weapons?
Yes.
Did he have any other weapons?
No.
Did he have anything else on him that he shouldn't have had?
No.
So this youth has been on a bus carrying a knife. What consideration did you give to your powers, and what was your thinking and what were your actions?
So I had two main powers that I could have used at that time. I just needed a little bit more information. One was the power of arrest for the offence of being in possession of a belated article. The other one, after engaging with them for a little bit, and this was only considered, was detaining under Section 136 of the Mental
Just
Health
explain Section 136.
Act. So Section 136 gives police officers the power to detain someone under the Mental Health Act and take them to a place of safety, which is a hospital.
Thank you. And did you take any further steps to inform whether or not you should use those powers, one of arrest for the offence, the other power under the Mental Health Act?
I took two actions. One of the actions was to speak to the bus driver and see if there had been any further offences or threats, or to see if he'd seen this knife. I also consulted with...
Just stay with the bus driver.
Sorry.
What did he or she say in response?
He described AR as just being a stroppy teenager. He said the only reason he called police is because he didn't want to continue with his journey and frighten his other passengers, but there had been no threats, and he made no mention of seeing a knife.
So you say in your statement that the driver wanted AR to leave the bus because he hadn't paid, is that right?
Yes, there was no pay for the fare. He just entered the bus and went directly to the back.
Right. And as you understood it, was that how the start of something untoward had happened, in that he'd just got on without paying?
Yes.
And had that happened where the bus was stopped?
Yes.
Thank you. And in what sense was AR frightening other passengers and being stroppy? What did you understand?
I think it was just the fact he was refusing with the bus driver's demands to leave the bus.
Was there any report from the bus driver in relation to the knife?
No.
Was there any indication that AR had got the knife out on the bus?
No.
Or threatened anybody with it?
No.
And I'm so sorry, PC Fairclough, I interrupted you. You were going to say that the second thing that you had done.
I called Sergeant Clark. I informed Sergeant Clark of the situation we were faced with and asked for advice on where he believes we should go next.
Thank you. And let's deal with that now. What was the advice that you received?
So before giving me any advice, Sergeant Clark asked a couple of questions, one being what AR's demeanour was like, one being had there been any threats, and one being was he calm and compliant with ourselves. After confirming all them with Sergeant Clark, he advised the best course of option he would take would be a high-risk PVP referral.
PVP referral?
Protecting vulnerable people. It's changed recently to a vulnerable child, but back then it was a PVP. And he also inquired about AR's parents and whether he had a place of safety that we could take him to. And I confirmed we did.
All right. So that we deal with it now, did you tell Sergeant Clark at that stage that AR had a conviction for carrying an offensive weapon?
I can't recall telling him that.
And if Sergeant Clark, as we may hear, is clear in his statement that he wasn't aware of that, let's assume for the moment that he is right about that, would you agree that that was an important piece of information that you should have informed Sergeant Clark about?
Yes.
Because?
It gives a different picture. It gives a pattern of behaviour.
And that information, it might be thought, was particularly important because if this was the first time that AR had carried a knife, that would be one thing. But if he had a previous conviction for an offence of violence in which he carried a knife, and which, despite his then young age, he had not been diverted from the criminal justice system, but had been convicted and received a referral order, that is very significant as a factor, is it not?
Yes.
In the consideration of whether, to put it bluntly, this could be dealt with as a one-off with a youth with mental health problems who needed support, it changes the complexion.
Yes.
And would you accept that if you didn't tell Sergeant Clark that at that stage, that was a significant error on your part, accepting your relative inexperience at that time of your career, but it was a significant error?
Yes.
Thank you. So in terms of coming back to the exercise of your powers, of course, the kitchen knife was one that he was carrying in a public place. You'd agree with that, I'm sure?
Yes.
And there was no suggestion of any lawful or reasonable excuse for having it.
No.
And your rationale, if you want to have it in front of you, it's paragraph 32 at page 7 of your statement, so Lank 30273, page 7, paragraph 32. Your rationale for not arresting AR was what?
There were several factors which I considered. First and foremost, he was a child. I appreciate he wasn't a young child, he was 15 at that time. However, he was presenting younger than that. I was aware of his neurodiverse condition, and the reason he had gone missing that day was he didn't like change. I didn't think custody would be appropriate. I still wasn't sure at that time whether he was going through a mental health episode. I hadn't negated that fully. He had been fully compliant at all times. He'd handed the knife over at the first opportunity. There'd been no resistance. We had confirmed there was no further offences, threats or affray, anything like that. I wanted long-term support, and I thought I agreed with Sergeant Clark in terms of the PVP to get other agencies involved or to update them that were already involved in what was happening. And also, at that time, I felt he came from a responsible home. I thought he had a place of safety other than custody. And all them decisions together helped make me the final decision of not making the arrest.
Thank you. Even at this stage, pulling in the other direction was the fact that he had a relevant previous conviction. Yes?
Yes.
Appreciating that you would have had training which emphasised the importance of diverting children from custody, even at this stage, it might be suggested that that in particular ought to have directed your thinking towards making an arrest. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And I appreciate, PC Fairclough, that it is difficult, and we've explored how not all information was available to you, or at least not readily visible. But do you think, based even on what you knew at this time, you ought to have arrested AR at this point?
Considering the information I had at the time, I believed I made the correct decision.
Can I press you a little on that? Are you saying that even now, on the information that you had at the time, at this stage, you still think that that was the correct decision?
No, sorry. I thought you meant that. No, sorry. Yeah.
So I am not challenging at all
Yeah.
the good faith of your decision making, all right?
Yes.
And I'm not suggesting for a moment that you made it recklessly or with indifference, all right? But looking back, even with the information that you had at this time, would you now accept that although you were doing your best at the time, you ought to have arrested AR at this point?
Yes.
If we look at paragraph 35 of your statement, please, in relation to the Section 136 powers. Could we just have that expanded a little, please, Sarah? You mentioned it a moment ago, that Section 136 allows a police officer to remove someone from a public place to a place of safety if they appear to be suffering from a mental disorder and need immediate care or control. Now, what was your thinking and rationale at that stage that led to you not using Section 136 powers?
I think the key word in the description of Section 136 is immediate. So he would have to be in immediate harm to either himself or the wider public. He had been missing for several hours at this point. He had not harmed himself. He would have come into contact with members of the public. He did come into contact with the bus driver and the passengers on that bus. Nobody had come to any harm, so I don't think there was immediate risk at that time, and I couldn't justify detaining under Section 136.
So you had reason to think, would this be right, that he may be suffering from a mental disorder? That may have been your assessment of it. But what was lacking with the immediacy of any need for care or control?
Yes.
It's an issue that the inquiry will need to look at in terms of guidance and powers, perhaps. But is there some risk here that the fact that AR had, to your knowledge, an autism diagnosis was something that was pulling in the direction of not arresting, but the fact that the disorder was not so severe as to require him needing immediate care and control meant that you couldn't exercise the mental health powers either?
Yes, we would always be encouraged to take to a place of safety rather than detain and take to a place of safety.
And I'm not suggesting necessarily that you should have analysed it in those terms or in these terms at the time, but looking at it now, do you recognise that there may be a risk of the dangerousness and the criminality falling in the gap in the middle?
Yes.
Because he wasn't to be taken for mental health assessment, and ultimately he was being taken home to mum and dad with no further action taken other than the referrals that we'll come on to.
Yes.
It's not perhaps an easy situation, this, for a police constable junior in years of experience. Did you find it challenging at the time?
Yes.
Given the way in which, in your rationale, it seems that AR's mental health diagnosis had played a significant factor, did you consider contacting mental health services to find out more about their knowledge of AR and how it might be impacting on his behaviour?
No. At that time, I thought you would only ring what we would call the mental health access line if we were considering 136 powers.
Again, your answer is a careful one at that time. Are you saying that in fact you now understand that you could use the access line to gain advice and information rather than specifically a query about using Section 136 powers?
Yes, it's actually changed. We now have a mental health card on, so we will contact them directly. The mental health card has a mental health practitioner on board who has full access to NHS records there's a police officer in that car, so we can see both sides. We can see police records and we can see NHS records. That was not in place at the time.
I follow. That's what I was going to ask you about. That's not something that was in place at the time. So
No.
at the time, your understanding, at least, of the system was that there was a mental health access line, but that's what you called if you thought you were going to have to use Section 136 powers.
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to move now, please, to the journey back to AR's home. And I think you tell us in paragraph 36 that you drove AR back to his home address. Is that right?
Yes.
Not terribly far, 10 minutes drive?
10 minutes, yes.
Something of that kind. PC Rhodes had arrived in her own police vehicle. Did she accompany AR in your car?
Yes, she sat in the back with AR.
Thank you. It may be obvious, but why was that?
Officer safety, and he's a juvenile, 2 officers of different sex.
And you set out in paragraph 36 of your statement also that the 2 of you spoke to AR during the journey, yes?
Yes.
And no doubt you were using your experience and trying to maintain an engagement with AR, but that wouldn't have been casual chit-chat, would it? It would have been an attempt to gain more information.
Yes.
And during that, you say in your statement that you can't recall which specific questions were asked or who asked them between you and Constable Rhodes, but you were talking throughout the journey.
Yes.
And you explain in your statement that at some stage AR was asked why he had a knife, and what did he say in response to that?
Something similar to what to stab people.
I want to stab someone,
Yes.
is what you said in your statement.
Yes.
Do you have, I don't want you to guess, but do you have any recollection of the manner in which he said that?
He was calm, and I remember looking in the rear view mirror, and he smiled.
The fact that he was calm and smiled when he said that, what did you make of that?
It made us probe him further.
Were you concerned about the fact that he was both calm and smiling?
Yes.
Because
It's not a normal reaction. I wasn't expecting that.
he wasn't remorseful.
He didn't appear so. He did go on to give a rather bizarre account of why he wanted to stab and hurt people.
And you've set out that bizarre explanation in paragraph 36. And it was to the effect, wasn't it, that he'd been told by his psychiatrist that the best way for his phone to be seized by police was for him to commit a serious offence. And the reason why he wanted his phone to be seized was that there were embarrassing videos on his social media accounts that he couldn't get rid of and wanted deleted.
Yes.
And what did you make of that?
We tried to explain to AR the extremities of what he was saying. We told him that would not be the case, tried to explain as basically as we could to a 15-year-old what police powers are and what we would do with a mobile phone if we were here to seize it. It would not be deleting social media videos.
And did he appear to accept your explanations?
It was difficult to tell. He didn't appear to accept the consequences of the severity of what he was saying, the offence of what he was saying.
And you say in your statement, is this right, that he appeared to remain fixated on this issue about getting these things deleted?
Yes, even though it was a very short journey, as you said before, approximately 10 minutes, he mentioned that multiple times.
And then turning to paragraph 37 of your statement, top of the next page, you say there that you recall an issue about poisoning
Yes.
coming up.
Yes, he made a one-line statement of something about, I've also thought about poisoning people, and that was for the same reason as to get his mobile phone seized.
Thank you. So, in relation to this statement, you've just said, thought about poisoning people, and you referred to it in a number of different ways in your statement. That's not a criticism, but in paragraph 43, for example, you dealing with the later stage when you raised this with AR's mother back at the house, you said you raised AR saying that he wanted to make poison. Is that right?
Yes.
So would you agree that in your inquiry statements, this was, as it were, a forward-looking thing? He'd been thinking about making poison.
Yes, it was something in the future, yes.
And if we look, please, at your first police statement, Lank 4023, the final paragraph, so sorry, I think I said the first statement, it's the second statement. Do we see about 6 lines down, again, this is in the context of slightly later on speaking about AR's mother, but you do say, I do not recall being told of any attempt to make poison.
Yes.
See that there?
Yes.
So in both your police statement and your statements to the inquiry, again, this is a forward-looking aspect. He'd been thinking about making poison.
Yes.
And as you sit there today, is that genuinely how you remember it?
Yes.
You say in your inquiry witness statement that there was an attempt to ask further questions. If we just look at Lank 30273, at the top of page 21. So page 21, please. Three lines down, perhaps I'll pick it up 2 lines down. AR only made the poisoning comment once and was again smiling, is that right?
Yes.
I could see this in your mirror. As before, I revisited the national decision-making model and decided to ask AR some further questions. AR was asked who he wanted to poison, and again, he did not suggest a specific person or people. AR was then asked by Constable Rhodes or me, I can't remember which, what poison he was going to use, and he responded with only a shrug of his shoulders, as if he was winding us up in a teenager-type way. Is that how you now recall it?
Yes.
With apologies for jumping around, if we go back to the statement you made to the police, your second statement, Lank 4023, first page. In the third paragraph down, the paragraph beginning in my previous statement, about 4 lines up from the bottom of that paragraph, you said the comment from AR in relation to poison was brief and he did not elaborate further. It might be thought that that's suggesting that it was a brief comment and there weren't further conversations about it. He wasn't pressed on it and asked more questions.
So he didn't elaborate. He didn't give us any further details.
If we look at the incident log, which you updated later on that day, Lank 4046, page 4. And could we go to the entry, please, for 349? Do we see with 8620? This is 349 later that day. AR has made some concerning remarks about wanting to stab people and made poison.
Yes, I seen that when this inquiry started. It's meant to be making poison.
While you say that, if we look at Lank 4088, we'll come to this with Constable Rhodes, but this is her investigation log entry, I think, in relation to it. And if we could just have the main text highlighted. We see reference there to the paragraph beginning, AR said that he wants his TikTok, Instagram account deleted. Towards the end of that paragraph, this has given AR the idea to commit an offence so that he can get police to delete the accounts. AR said he was going to use the knife to stab someone for this reason and has previously tried to make poison for the same reason.
Yes, I think PC Rhodes might have took that from my update on the incident log.
Do you think it might be that those accounts given at the time, accepting that yours is a short log entry, may actually be more accurate than your current recollection, and what in fact had been divulged was that he had actually tried to make poison?
No, I think it's a poorly written update on my part.
It's an obvious point, but the reference to poison in itself serious and concerning, but if it had actually made an attempt to make poison, it would be all the more serious. Would you agree?
Yes.
Looking back, do you think that you did enough to probe and act upon this reference to poison, whether it was I've thought about making poison or I've tried to make poison? Do you think that you did enough to find out further information and to act on that?
I think I should have recontacted Sergeant Clark and sought further advice. It's the only time I think I've ever come across any mention of poison at any incident.
Yeah. And again, the points may be obvious, but you'll understand that I'm obliged to raise them with you, PC Fairclough. The information divulged in the car is important in two ways. Firstly, the carrying of the knife is now coupled with a clear statement of intention to harm people with it, wanted to stab someone. Yes?
Yes.
And then you've got the information about poison and intending to use poison, think about using it for the same deliberate motive.
Yes.
Would you agree that in terms of your attempts to reason somewhat with AR, he wasn't folding, was he? He wasn't saying, oh, you're right, I've been a fool. He was sort of maintaining this explanation for why he wanted to do it, and this fixation on getting his social media accounts deleted.
Yes.
In paragraph 83 of your statement, if we could just look at it, please. It's at the bottom of page 19 of your statement, so Lank 30273, page 19. you've got new information. The NDM is meant to be a cycle that you keep going round and revisit, would you agree, when you get further information?
Yes.
And did you think about your powers again when you'd received this information and the exercise of your discretion?
Yes.
And it didn't lead you at the time, did it, to arresting AR?
It did not, because even though he was coming out with these extremely concerning comments, his behaviour still suggested otherwise. So he had just been on a bus, in possession of a knife. He had elderly people on that bus. He had 2 police officers talking to him. He had made no threat. He had the means at that time to stab someone had he wished, and he hadn't carried that out. So his actions were very different to what he was telling us in the vehicle.
I'm not going to challenge PC Fairclough that those factors were present, but there was now a growing list of factors on the other side. I've dealt already with the past conviction, but now you have what appears to be clear intent to have used the knife, which he wasn't backing down from. Yes?
Yes.
The reference to poison, whether I've thought about using poison or I've tried to make poison, coupled with the fact that those didn't appear to be fleeting. It wasn't as though he was saying, well, I've only just done this today, I've only thought about this. This seemed to be something that he'd been thinking about. Indeed, you used the phrase fixated on. All of those were on the other side of the scales, weren't they?
Yes.
And I think in light of the candid acceptance that you've made about arrest at an earlier stage, at this stage, with this information, it may well be that you would have wanted to speak to the parents and get him home first, but would you accept that the right judgment call at this stage was to effect an arrest?
Yes.
We can see from the records that PC Fairclough, you were completing forms, making inquiries, and no doubt doing your diligent best. I want you to reflect, for the benefit of the chair, on your training and experience, and try to assist the inquiry with why it is that you made a judgment call that you now recognise was the wrong one.
I feel potentially too much pressure is put on not arresting children unless absolutely necessary. I also feel too much emphasis was put on AR's mental health is neurodiverse condition rather than what was right in front of me and what he was disclosing at the time.
Thank you. Had your training and your experience led you to think that you might get in professional difficulties if you took a child into custody and that judgment was subsequently doubted or questioned?
Yes, it's extremely difficult to get a child into custody. I've got many examples not linked to this case where violence has been used and detention has not been authorised.
Had you yourself had mental health training? I'm sure it would have been something covered in your training.
We have an input. It was on Microsoft Teams, as I say, due to the pandemic. I think it was about 45 minutes.
What had that led you to adopt as your approach when you were dealing with, I'm going to use the category of teenagers, but teenagers with neurodiversity? What had your training instilled in you as the approach to adopt?
I think there's a lot of emphasis on treating them as a victim, if you like, within themselves. I think you push to do everything within your power to keep them out of the criminal justice system.
It would be a crude, unfair overstatement, and so I won't make it, to suggest that for somebody with an autism diagnosis, they are in any way automatically a higher risk of offending to others. And I don't want to be misunderstood as making that suggestion because of the importance of the different types of autism and how it can play with different people and the need to treat people as individuals. So I don't want this question to be misunderstood. But had your training led you to be aware of a risk that for some individuals, a background diagnosis of autism might be a risk factor in the sense that if they are carrying out acts of violence or carrying weapons, the autism may act as an increase in the risk in the sense that there may be the type of fixation which you had picked up on. Is that something that was covered in training?
I can't recall that, sorry.
And I ask this more as an exploration of the risk issues that the inquiry needs to look at than as any criticism of you as an individual constable. But looking at matters now, was there a risk of a binary approach, a black and white approach? It was either criminality or mental health. And in circumstances where you understood that there was a mental health diagnosis for a child, AR got put in the mental health box.
I think that's fair, yes.
And would you accept that a better analysis may have been that this was criminal activity in somebody who may have known well enough what he was doing, but on a background of a mental health diagnosis?
Yes.
And you have already referred to this, but not least because you were still a probationary constable, albeit coming into your final weeks of probation. Seeking advice from your sergeant at this stage was really a clear and obvious step.
Yes.
That you very clearly should have taken.
Yes.
And would you accept that it was a significant error of judgment on your part not to have done so?
Yes.
And it may be that the answer to my next question is obvious from the evidence you've already been given, but if you had had at this stage the full picture in your mind, so earlier concerns about school shooting, 3 prevent referrals, albeit none in which AR had been accepted through the gateway, and 2 incidents in 2019, not 1. So the first 10 occasions of carrying a knife to school leading to his exclusion, and then the December 19 hockey incident with an assault causing actual bodily harm but carrying a knife. Coupled with carrying a knife, saying he wanted to stab someone, and the reference to poison. With all of that, it would have been a very easy decision to go down the arrest route.
Yes.
In terms of dealing with Sergeant Clark, I want to ask you about the timings of this as my next topic. Could we just remind ourselves, please, of your paragraph 33? It's in your statement at Lanc 30273. Page 7. So what you say there is, I called Sergeant Clark at 3:26 by airwave point to point. And in your statement, just cast your eye above a little bit, if you would. Could we just have 32 and 33 both on the page? You're timing this at the stage where you've had the conversation at the bus. Do you see that?
Yes, yeah.
And saying that you called Sergeant Clark at 15:26. I want to explore with you whether that timing is accurate, and there's a reason for my doing so, which I'll come on to. We know that there was an earlier call involving Sergeant Clark. Could we have a look at that, please? It's Lanc 30255. So these are the radio transmissions for your sergeant, and I think that we can see that there is an entry. It's fine as it is on the screen, Sarah, thank you. There's an entry at 15:07:42, private call, to an identification number which ends 719, which I think tallies with PC Rhodes' radio.
Yes.
And the timing of that, I'd ask you to note 15:07, and the duration of it, 105 seconds, so 1 minute 45 seconds. If we then go, please, to Lanc 5046, the incident log. I'm sorry, 4 zeros, thank you. Could we go, please, to the entry for 1510? Sorry, just go over the next page. If you go to page 4. And if we can just get the entry for 1510, it's at the just top third. So do we see there car 9, so 15:10:23, and then there's a reference to, is going to jump in with me. AR was in possession of a small knife, we'll take him home now. And that seems to be a reference to PC Rhodes getting in your car and you going home, yes?
Yes.
And so by then the decision has been made, would you agree, at 15:10, not to arrest but to take AR home?
Yes.
And if we look at Lanc 30426, there is, I think, a transcript of that call. Car 7's going to jump in with myself, so we're going to take AR back home. He was in possession of a small knife. Yeah, received. Bravo 20 receive. And then it carries on just a little bit later. Was in possession of a small knife, going to take him home now. So that, would you agree, in your sequence of events, because you consulted Sergeant Clark, must have been after you'd had the discussion with Sergeant Clark about what to do?
Yes.
And received the advice from Sergeant Clark, based on Sergeant Clark's level of knowledge, that the best thing to do would be to take him home?
Yes.
Now, if that is right, if we can go now, please, to Lanc 30285, with apologies for the jumping around. These are the radio transmission records for your colleague PC Rhodes. And if you would look with me at the entry for 1526, please. So I think we'll need to go on. Thank you. So we see there at 15:26 that there is a 3-minute call. Do you see the 179, which tallies with a call to Sergeant Clark? Now, we'll obviously ask PC Rhodes about that, but there does appear, you've referred to in your statement, to be some indications of you potentially using PC Rhodes' radio.
Yes, I can't recall why,
Yeah.
but that would appear so.
And we don't have a transcript of either of these because they're point to point, as we explored yesterday. But that timing would tally with the end of the journey, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Back to AR's home. Can you remember what was discussed with Sergeant Clark at that stage?
I don't remember any further calls after the one outside the bus.
On any view, that call at that stage would have been an ideal opportunity to inform Sergeant Clark about the further information. Would you agree?
Absolutely, yes.
It is notable from your accounts, subject to anyone correcting me, that you have never claimed that you did update Sergeant Clark on that additional information. Are you confident that you didn't do so? It wasn't mentioned in this call.
I can't recall, so I can't say yes.
And you just don't recall what
Can't
was...
recall, no.
If it was you on Rhodes' radio, you can't recall what was said.
No, I really don't understand why I was using PC Rhodes' radio either. That's...
Thank you. Turning then to the events at the home, you arrive at the address, and I think you tell us in paragraph 42, is this right, that AR's mother and father were both present when you returned?
Yes.
And you told them about AR being found in possession of the knife, yes?
Yes.
And did you also tell them about his comment about wanting to stab someone?
Yes.
Did you tell them what he'd said about wanting social media accounts deleted?
Yes.
I think at this stage, with mother and father both present, you didn't at that stage raise the issue about poison?
I believe I took mother away. There's been a disclosure by AR at some point that he got along better with his mother than his father.
Yeah.
That's not unusual for teenagers, so I took, I think, AR into the living room.
Right, so I'm going to come back to that.
Sorry,
so
okay.
Park that for the moment. But at this stage, you didn't mention the poison. That was in a conversation with mother later.
Yes, I believe so.
And did you tell them about the vulnerable child investigation being started and that they would be contacted by other agencies?
Yes, so we would have to get consent for anything but a high risk, and this was getting put in anyway as a high risk, but we still checked and they fully supported.
All right, so before we get on to the separate conversation that you had with AR's mother, how did they, the parents, react to what you were explaining about the circumstances in which AR had been found and his both possession of a knife and his commenting that he wanted to stab someone?
They appeared stressed. I think they appeared at their wits' ends. I think it was the mother claimed she was crying out for extra support and she felt it was falling on deaf ears.
Did they seem surprised that AR had been behaving in this way?
Yes, to a degree. I don't think they were shocked about the knife because it was obviously themselves who had informed me of that earlier in the day. But I think the comment around stabbing, yes.
Were they receptive to your concerns about how serious this was?
They appeared so.
The phrase that you use in paragraph 44 is that both seemed very supportive and were open to any help and advice that could be made available. Is that right?
Yes.
You mentioned it in a different context earlier in your evidence, but your impression was that AR lived in a home with parents who were trying to act responsibly. That was the feeling that you got.
But yeah, absolutely. That's the best way of describing them.
You returned the knife to AR's mother, is that right?
Yes.
And did they confirm that it was the knife from the home that had gone missing?
Yes.
AR was present at this stage for this part of the conversation.
Yes.
How did he react to it?
I'm trying to weigh this carefully. I wouldn't say dismissive, but he was certainly, I don't think he was taking the seriousness of the situation in.
You deal in your statement with the fact that your colleague PC Rhodes gave advice to AR's mother in relation to locking knives away at the address, is that right?
Yes.
And you also tell us, for your note, it's paragraph 95 of your statement, but we don't need to turn it up, initially, I think the position was that the knife went back initially into a knife block in the kitchen.
Yes, I think the mother panicked a little bit with our presence, and as PC Rose was given the advice, she was getting a little bit flustered and started trying to put knives away there and then in front of us.
All right, but it does follow that the prior position was that a knife block had been out with knives in it in the family home.
Yes.
Did AR's parents say anything about the fact that they'd had advice before about keeping knives out of AR's way?
No.
And I think you accept in your statement that while, of course, locking knives away may be a sensible precaution, that wasn't ultimately going to be an adequate control on any remaining risk, because he could get knives elsewhere
Yes.
or seek to find where they've been hidden in the family home or break open any lock.
Yes.
And then returning to the issue of poison, you took AR's mother aside. You've told us about that. The conversation set out in your statement that AR had said that for others being involved, he wanted them to go through his mother rather than his father. Not unusual, you say, for teenagers. So when you spoke to AR's mother to one side, was it you who raised the issue of poison?
Yes.
Can you remember, in rough terms, what you said?
I repeated what he had said in the car. I repeated the part about the social media, and I asked the question, is that something he's ever discussed or anything you've ever seen? And I think I was shocked by the lack of shock on her part. And I can't remember exactly how it worded, but she had said he'd mentioned poison previously to her.
Right. So two things. Mother didn't seem shocked, and she then explained to you that he'd mentioned poison previously to her.
Yes.
And what was your reaction to that in terms of your re-evaluating your actions and your powers?
I probed a little bit further, asked the direct question, had he made it? And at that point, again, that's where I should have recontacted Sergeant Clark or another chemically trained officer.
So you're accepting that, again, that was a trigger that should have led you to seeking further advice?
Yes, I've got no poison training whatsoever. It's something I've never come across, and it's obviously a significant statement, so yeah, I should have sought further advice.
AR's mother had not volunteered this information earlier on in the house, had she, when you visited when AR was missing?
No, that was only given when I probed.
And would it be right that she only divulged this information to you now you're back in the house upon you directly questioning her?
Yes.
And Did that strike you as concerning in terms of how open AR's parents might be being with you?
Yes, because up until that point, I think I've described this several times, where I thought of both of them being extremely responsible. The information they did divulge about is missing from home. We don't always get that from parents. We certainly don't always get mental health diagnosis. We wouldn't get told previous information about knives, etc. So I was shocked that that wasn't disclosed earlier.
And appreciating that I have probably asked you questions for almost as long as the whole event happened, but looking at it now, does it strike you that something broadly similar had happened in relation to the knife and the previous incident, in that it was when you raised the previous incident, which you'd become aware of, that AR's mother had then referred to some detail about that incident and referred to a knife being missing?
Yes.
You say, can we look at it please, paragraph 89 of your statement. Page 21. It was my belief that had there been anything in the address about which AR's mother was concerned or aware, including anything to do with poison, she could and would have told me about it at the time. My reasoning was that AR's mother appeared to be very responsible and had assisted us at every opportunity. Not all parents are like this when we attend an incident. AR's mother volunteered information about an incident at the Range High School involving a knife. She disclosed about the knife she thought AR had taken from the kitchen and may be in possession of. Without that information from AR's mother, we would not have had any grounds to search AR. She disclosed the neurodiversity and she'd reported him missing from home at what appeared to have been the earliest opportunity. Thinking about it more closely now, do you now appreciate that there was another side to that?
Yes.
And do you think on reflection, even as compared to your witness statement to this inquiry, you might have been a bit too trusting of the degree of openness that you were getting from AR's family?
Yes.
You've accepted in terms of the arrest decision that would have been the right thing to do. There was another option at this stage, wasn't there, that even if you didn't arrest, with the information that you'd had about poison on top of the knife concern, you could have asked for AR's parents' consent for you to search his room.
Yes.
And you could then have done the more thorough type of search associated with criminality as opposed to the simpler, quicker search in relation to information relevant to a missing person. Would you agree?
Yes.
And even if you hadn't effected an arrest and searched following the arrest under Section 18 of PACE, would you accept that requesting a search with consent is something that was something that you really should have done at this stage?
Yes.
You advised AR's parents that they should take AR to hospital for a mental health assessment, is that right?
Yes.
Part of AR's mother's response to your conversations with her, you referred to the crying for help, was that she felt that AR and they were not getting sufficient support from CAMS. Is that right?
Yes.
Against that background, did you have any concerns about how likely it was that AR's parents would take AR directly to hospital for a mental health assessment?
No, we we said if she does that on the day and we would explore it in the PVP, we would explain it further, then that will be for her benefit and AR's benefit.
It's something that we'll pick up with AR's parents, but did they in fact indicate that they would do that and that they would take him to hospital?
They said they would. The mother said they would.
Thank you. We know from the timing of the entries in Lank 4046 that you are updating the incident log in relation to this part of the conversations by 3:49. So it looks as though if the call to Sergeant Clark was around 15:26, it looks as though you may have been in the property for something like 20 minutes. Obviously, I can't be exact and I wouldn't expect you to be, but does that sound about right?
It fits with the call, yeah.
Do you think on reflection that that was long enough?
No, I think we could stay longer.
Turning then to what happened thereafter, we know that PC Rhodes completed one aspect of the reports, which was the high-risk vulnerable child referral for AR. Looked at that briefly already. Lank 4088. Could we just have it back on the screen? So we just have the main text highlighted. So starting with AR was reported down to the bottom, where it says, please, can any contact be made to AR's mother? This doesn't mention prevent referrals because you weren't aware of them.
Yes.
It does mention the admission of having a knife on AR and that he'd said that he was going to use it to stab someone, and the poison is mentioned as well. Would you agree? So that was all set out.
Yes.
It doesn't mention the previous conviction specifically, I think. Was there a reason for that? I appreciate it's Constable Rhodes' document.
I'm not sure.
Paragraph 4 says, AR suffers with ADHD and autism and is being moved to a school that specialises for this. And it is possible that this is why he has had a bad mental health episode today, as he was due to meet his teachers. PC Rhodes' document, but did that also reflect your thinking?
I think the events of that day have been made worse by him being aware he was meeting new teachers, yes.
Yeah. But the whole characterisation of what had happened this day as a bad mental health episode, how did you know?
We couldn't.
And was that therefore an assumption?
Yes.
You put this down to a bad mental health episode?
Yes.
And again, you'll recall my questions to you about the risk of categorising it in a binary way. It could very well equally have been criminality, deliberate, on the back of a mental health episode.
Yes.
Or on the back of a mental health disorder.
Yes.
But something for which he was fully responsible.
Yes.
We can pick up with others that this was shared with Children's Social Care, Education and Health via the MASH. Sir, just for your note, you'll see those organisations referred to in the bottom left of the same page. You produced, can we look at it please, Lank 4091. This is a finalisation of the missing persons investigation. We just have the whole of the text highlighted a little bit, please, or expanded a little bit, please, Sarah. And this, I think, is one that you completed rather than PC Rhodes.
I thought it was PC Rhodes. I don't recall completing this document.
Okay, we can pick that up. But in any event, 3 lines down, why did the person go missing? The same assumption is there, isn't it? Was having mental health episode.
Yes.
And again, in relation to this document, would you accept that that perhaps was falling into the trap of making an assumption that everything could be explained as merely a mental health episode?
Yes.
Thank you. Could we go to Lank 4089, please? And could we just have the top third, so the title and the top box information? We've looked previously at the missing from home investigation report. This is the investigation report for the crime, isn't it? Having an article with a blade or point in a public place, yes?
Yes.
I think this would have been created by a colleague of yours, but as we can see, you were designated the officer in the case. Would you agree?
Yes.
Thank you. Could we go, please, to the investigation summary? We can see closed, which no doubt would have been added at the latter stages that we'll come on to. But that text, suspect was a missing from home, he was a young boy. Do you know who wrote that? Is that your summary?
That's not my summary. That's not my summary.
Thank you. If we go down the page, please. In fact, if we can go over to the second page. And over one more time, please. Oh, no, sorry, just forgive me. The task there, the 18th of March, 7:59, perform task Fairclough. Can you help with who would have made that entry? Is that you making the entry, or is that you being given a task?
That is me being given a task. That's me acknowledging the task.
So OIC to populate investigation in full. That's the instruction to you.
Yes.
Thank you. And at the bottom, we see the dates there and the entries made. Are any of those entries made by you?
I think I've made the bottom one on the closing report, which has then been copied onto that report
Right.
by whoever 3213 is.
So AR was reported missing earlier in the day by his parents. They described this as out of character, thought it may be in relation to AR attending a new school. He was due to meet his new teachers on the day of the incident. AR is highly autistic and his new school is to support those with extra needs as mainstream education could not provide the best care for him. AR was found on a bus a few hours after going missing. His parents suggested he may have taken a knife from the home. I think we can just go over the page. Home kitchen. When located, AR told officers he had this knife. He told officers he thought if he committed a serious crime, the police could help get his social media blocked. Despite a long conversation with AR, he could not understand the consequences of this. AR was returned home and parents are taking him to hospital. A high-risk VC was submitted for support. AR does not have capacity and prosecution is not appropriate in this instance. So was that your recommendation towards closing this off and
Yes.
not taking any action on the criminal justice route?
I've made an assumption, yes.
Yeah. And looking at it now, first of all, I've read it all. Would you accept that the totality of that is putting everything that had happened down to his autism and his mental health diagnosis?
Yes.
And when it says AR does not have capacity, how did you assess that?
We couldn't. It was an assumption.
And do you accept that that is an assumption that you shouldn't in fact have made at all?
Yes.
What would have been the right thing to do?
If we were going down that route of capacity, we should have got a mental health doctor to have confirmed that, or spoke to the sergeant about another way of dealing with the incident long term.
Yeah. And taking it as short as I may, does that reflect that as a frontline officer, you can take action based on the fact that you think somebody may be in mental health crisis, but judging whether or not they have capacity is not something that you have the qualifications to assess?
Yeah, that's fair.
And the danger of assuming that somebody with a mental health diagnosis therefore doesn't have capacity is that dangerous criminality may be, if not excused, then not taken down the appropriate route.
Yes.
And this postdates the events, but Lank 30276 this is to colleagues type of letter. The date of it is August 2025. And I won't read it out, but I'll just give you the opportunity just to skim through the content. Perhaps just start with the top half of the page enlarged, please. And then and then the second half. So everything from in reality downwards. And so your constabulary, would you accept after the events, in a communication going to all officers, seeking to spell out the concerns in relation, I'm so sorry, could we just have it back as it was, please? I'm so sorry. Seeking to spell out this risk, a suspect's lack of capacity or inability to control their actions becomes less relevant with more serious cases. And so on. But it then says, we therefore should not close investigations citing a lack of capacity without this being confirmed by a suitably qualified person. And even in cases where it is suspected, believed, known that the suspect did lack capacity and lack control over their actions, it may still be necessary to pursue matters through the criminal justice system, depending on the severity and potentially the frequency of the offending. So that would reinforce, I think, the learning that you're saying you do accept, that this wasn't appropriate to close it off for lack of capacity.
Yes, absolutely.
And in truth, there wasn't really any evidence that AR lacked control over his own actions, was there?
No, I think I put too much trust in the parents.
In their putting it down to his mental health diagnosis, do you mean?
Yes.
Whose document is this?
It's a Lancashire Constabulary information training document going out to all staff, as I understand it.
Thank you.
I'm seeing nods from their legal representatives. Thank you. PC Fairclough, you will understand, I'm sure, that there are a myriad of others involved in this at different stages in a complex way that the inquiry is examining. But so far as your involvement is concerned, does it follow from your previous answers that as a response officer, you were perhaps somewhat too willing to hand responsibility for this back to the mental health services rather than acting on the criminality that you saw in front of you?
Yes.
You've candidly said that you weren't aware of the violence reduction network, the VRN, which by this stage had been extended to younger children, such that AR would have been potentially a suitable candidate for it. Would you accept that a referral to them is something which you and perhaps your superiors should have considered?
Yes.
Just finally this. I want you to think about the police, first of all. From the perspective of the police, who in the police was responsible for assessing and addressing the risk posed to AR when he was found on the bus with a knife? Who held that responsibility at that time?
Us as the attending officers.
After you had returned AR home, referrals were made and you had recommended against taking it down the criminal justice route. Who within the police, to your understanding, had any ongoing responsibility for assessing AR's risk to others?
I didn't know at the time, but an early action referral could have been made. I could have sought advice from the youth offending team. I know I wasn't going down the criminality route, but I still could have sought advice from Yacht.
All right. But at that stage, did you have an understanding at the time of who, if anybody, within Lancashire Constabulary maintained an obligation to deal with AR's risk to other people?
No, I think as an immediate response officer, you are very isolated.
And so far as the totality is concerned, once your involvement as a response officer was over, did you have an understanding across all the agencies of who was then going to be in the lead? So going forward from, say, the 21st of March, once no criminal action is being taken, did you have an understanding of who within the agencies had the lead responsibility for dealing with the assessment and mitigation of AR's risk?
No, I could see which organisations it was shared with, and that was done off the report, but that's only because I went looking. That's not something readily made available, and certainly didn't know who would be the lead agency.
Thank you. There were a number of performers. I'm just looking to my left to see if there are any questions. Just wait there, PC Fairclough. Mr. Bowen, King's Counsel, will have some questions.
Yes, Mr. Bowen.
Hi, thank you. I ask questions on behalf of the bereaved families. I've just got one question. Having conceded that, given what you knew at the time, you would have arrested him, can I further assume then that you would have carried out or organised for a search of the house to be carried out?
That would have depended what he's arrested for. If I'd arrested for the possession of the Blazers article immediately, I'm not sure it would have been. I'm not sure that would have been authorised. But if we'd have gone later on with the poison, then yes.
I mean, what's come out so far from the examination today are matters of extreme gravity. Agreed?
Yes.
So he would have come in, let's assume the custody sergeant accepted him. There would have been concerns about immediate risks to the public.
Yes.
Agreed?
Yes.
You would then have, presumably, along with your supervising officers, have really interrogated the intelligence systems.
Yes.
And you would have realised that you were dealing with a very significant risk to the public.
Yes.
Right. So surely something then would have followed in terms of asking yourself, what do we do now?
Yes.
Answer?
Search the property.
Search the property, exactly. And do you have any idea what they might have found?
Possibly the ricin.
I'm slightly hard of hearing, so you have to yell at me. I think yesterday, from memory, I couldn't quite find it immediately on the live notes. Counsel to the inquiry brought out the weapons that he had purchased, or the dangerous articles he had purchased by the time of the bus incident. From memory, I think it was ricin seeds. correct me if I'm wrong, please, a bow and arrow and knives.
It's the seeds, conical flasks, and the chemical equipment. There was an order of bow and arrows, but there is evidence that they had been refunded, so they may not have been delivered.
Right, okay.
And it wasn't at that stage knives.
Right, I'm very grateful. But enough, had the search been carried out for a criminal justice process to have followed?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. It's been difficult evidence for you, Mr. Beckloff.
Yes.
And I'm very grateful for the candid way in which you've answered questions. You're now free to go.
Can I just pass on my apologies before I go? Is that okay?
Of course you can.
I'm saying this as Dave Fairclough, the person, not Constable Fairclough of Lancashire Constabulary. I've got a baby boy myself. My biggest fear in life is losing him. I can't understand what the families are going through. I can't comprehend. I'm not even going to try and pretend to do and justify that. I'm still haunted by AR's face, his evil face, every single night, and I will never get over that. I want to apologise for some of the stuff that we've discussed over the last 2 days, some of the things I potentially could have done different, that potentially could have had a different outcome. I just hope the inquiry can get the answers that they need.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
You're free to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I've trespassed on the patience of our stenographer to get that evidence finished. Could we now take a break?
We certainly can. We'll sit again at 12 o'clock. Remain standing for a moment, officer.
I do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Have a seat. Yes, Mr. Barr.
PC Rhodes, could you give your full name, please?
Yeah, it's Eve Rhodes.
Thank you. Could we have on screen MERP 30833? This is your first statement, which was given to the Merseyside Police criminal investigation that followed the attack. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. And if we go to the next page, we see that that's dated the 28th of August 2024. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. Is this statement true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
It is, yes.
Thank you. Could we have up, please, LANC 30293? Do you recognise that as your second statement, the first that's been given to this inquiry?
I do, yes.
Thank you. We can see in the top right it's dated the 7th of August of this year. Is that statement true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Thank you. We can have that off the screen. Thank you. PC Rhodes, you're currently a constable with Lancashire Constabulary, is that right?
It is, yeah.
And before joining Lancashire Constabulary, you'd been a special constable with Greater Manchester Police for 6 months in 2020, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. You joined Lancashire Police as a probationary police constable on the 22nd of February 2021.
Yes.
With a 2-year probationary period, is that right?
It is.
Thank you. In your probation, what training have you received on dealing with children in your role?
I couldn't tell you specifically what training courses we did, but we definitely did receive some training in that time. I joined during COVID, so my training was on Teams, so everything delivered training-wise was over a computer on Teams.
And did that cause you any issues, do you think?
I think it didn't benefit us as students compared to going into headquarters to learn in person I think we would have benefited more from having the training delivered in person.
And I've asked you about training about dealing with children as a police constable. Had you had any training about dealing with people with autism?
Yes, we would have had training with dealing with people with learning difficulties and mental health issues.
You had achieved independent patrol status on the 22nd of February 2019, is that right? Sorry, I think that should be
2021.
2021,
Yes.
thank you. Sorry, error in my note. But at the time of the events that we are looking at, you were still working towards your full operational competency, is that right?
Yes, so I was fully independent. I think it was 2022 we were fully independent.
Yeah.
And a month before this incident is when I became independent.
Thank you. Yes, that's my mistake. Sorry, it's 22nd of February 2022 we see at paragraph 5 of your statement. Is this right? You've been on immediate response throughout your policing career with Lancashire Constabulary?
That's right.
And that is based in the West Lancashire area.
Yes.
What is your role now?
I'm still on immediate response now.
And how is your current team structured?
Obviously, we have our response sergeant. Currently, that sergeant can be covering other areas and usually isn't based in our station. Our sergeant can be based in Preston or Chorley, or we often have the Chorley sergeant covering us, so we often don't have a dedicated sergeant with us on shift. And then we have a team of around 8 to 10. I'd say most of that team are still in their probation, and I am probably the second most experienced on my team, and that's with 4 years in myself.
Thank you. Moving on now to the events of the 17th of March 2022, you tell us in your statement that your memory is not particularly good looking that far back. Is that right?
It is.
But you also explained that on that day you were on shift from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. in car 7, correct?
Yes.
And your collar number, which will help us with some of the later records, was 1719.
Yes.
And your first awareness of an issue with AR on that date was that you became aware that he'd been reported as missing. Is that right?
It is, yes.
Thank you. And you were involved with the area search. Was that on the morning of the 17th of March?
I can't remember if that was what time of day that was, but I did help with searching the area for AR.
Thank you. And we have some airwave calls which I think show you responding to the missing person and saying that you're going up to Banks to do an area search. Is that right?
Yes.
Could we have on screen, please, LANC 30246? So I think this is what's called an operational competence submission. Can you just explain what that is?
So I had achieved independent status, but we still had to sign off other criteria to get our fully occupational competence. So obviously you can see here where I've put in the brackets like 7.1C, 7.2C, they refer to specific criteria that I'd written down that I'd met during this incident.
Thank you. And we see a date at the top, the 25th of April 22. Is that when that's when you wrote this, presumably?
Yes.
And you describe, I think, if we look sort of 6 or 7 lines down, that the boy had no money with him and apparently did not have any places where he would go, so I identified the search area as anywhere walking distance around his home address, and then you give a little bit more description of the search you did. Looking about 2/3 of the way down, you say PC 8620 informs me that the boy could be in possession of a knife, as his mum had noticed that one of her kitchen knives has gone. And while searching the areas, I was conducting a risk assessment to assess the risk of approaching the boy if he was in possession of a knife. Is that right?
Yes.
I think we also have some of the radio transmissions that were made around this time. Could we have up, please, LANC 30421? Thank you. And if we could go to page 2. So we see a message from control, which is the second, I think, substantive entrance there. And we see a description given, the reference to the knife, he's also potentially in possession of a small knife if anyone is to come across him. Is that the information you think you relied upon when carrying out the search?
Yes.
Would you have received any further information at this stage other than that radio transmission, do you think?
No.
Thank you. You also described that at some stage you were sent a picture of AR to help your search.
Yes.
We can also see that you had a call to PC Fairclough at about 1:16, you tell us at paragraph 12 of your statement. Are you able to remember why that call took place?
I can't recall what the context was of that conversation. It could have been me asking if there was any specific areas that he went to search, but like I said, I can't recall the exact.
So do you think it would have concerned your search at that stage?
Potentially.
And would you have sought any further information about AR from PC Fairclough?
I can't remember if I did or not.
Could we move, please, to LANC 30246, which is your operational competence submission again? And look at the bottom of that section. So you explain, after conducting an area search, which was a negative result, I started to head back to the station when comms informed us that I think that should be a bus driver. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Had called saying a young male was causing trouble. Can we turn over the page, please? And I think that continues over leaf. Causing trouble on the bus and not paying the fare. And the male matched the description of the boy that was going missing. I started to head... Sorry, if we could just go back. Thank you. I started to head to where the bus was. However, I was showing closest whilst my colleagues were about 10 minutes away. It might be that I've read the answer to this, but why was it that you responded to this?
I think I was closest to the incident location. And obviously with him being missing from home, we'd rather get to him sooner than wait for any other patrols to get there.
Yeah, and I think you go on to say that the fact that there was a knife in possession of the missing person caused you concern. Is that right?
Yes.
So that was a reason for you to try to get to the scene as quickly as you could. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. So just looking at the timings of this, I think if we have up the log from the call that was made by the member of staff from the bus company, it's LANC 4046. Thank you. So we see the log there. Could we turn to page 4, please? Thank you. And if we look at the top of that page, thank you. I think the third entrance down, we see that you're dispatched at 14:57 and 27 seconds. Is that right?
Yes.
And is that car 9, PC Fairclough, who's dispatched shortly before you in the top entrance?
Yes.
Thank you. Could we now have up, please, LANC 30422, which is the radio transmissions? Thank you, and I think we have some preliminaries. First of all, the top record saying that it might be the missing person in the log in response to the call being made by the bus driver. And we see, I think, car was allocated as soon as. Is that right?
Yes.
If we could turn over the page, please. Thank you. Bravo car 7 to control, 5 minutes, and then heading over to you. Is that right? Is that you?
Yes, that would be me.
Thank you. And then we see some information given by the control. He's got on the bus and got a bit stroppy with the driver and upset some elderly ladies. He's stopped outside the Hesketh Arms and refusing to get off the bus. He's not paid either, and then a description is given. Again, by this stage, do you think that you had any more information about AR other than the radio transmissions that we have seen?
No.
Thank you. Would you have known any of his offending history or background?
No.
Thank you. Moving on then to your arrival, you tell us in your statement at paragraph 18 that you were the first officer on the scene. Is that right?
It is.
And I think you radioed the force control room on your arrival to let them know you'd attended. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Could we have up, please, the log for the bus caller, which is LANC 4046. And could we go to page 4, please? Thank you. And I think we're looking at the top third of the page. We see, I think, at 15:05:14, about a third down, car 9 at scene, and within a few seconds, 10 seconds, car 7 at scene. Did you see PC Fairclough when you arrived?
No.
Okay. And do you think this log is right, suggesting that he was at scene before you?
Well, you have to physically say you're at scene or press a button to say you're at scene unless the control room put PC Fairclough at scene before me incorrectly.
Fine. So he might have been close by, but as far as you could tell when you arrived, and we'll come on to getting on the bus, PC Fairclough got to AR later than you. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. Just looking at the entries below, we then see that car 7, it says with bus now and confirmed with AR. So you were able to confirm, I think, within a couple of minutes of your arrival that this was the missing person that you were looking for, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. And if we just look at the entry below, we then have a message from PC Fairclough saying that 1719, that's you, is going to jump in with me. AR was in a possession of a small knife. We'll take him home now. Do you see that?
Yes.
So that's at 3:10:23. So I think that means that it was under 5 minutes from your arrival at the scene until you were in the process of leaving. Is that correct? Does that sound right to you?
Yes.
Thank you. In terms of what happened at the scene, you tell us that you got onto the bus and found AR. How did he present?
He was quiet. He was just sat at the back of the bus, wasn't really doing anything.
what conversation did you have on the bus?
I can't remember the exact conversation. I know that I confirmed his identity, whether that was asking him or just through matching the description that was given. And I can't remember the rest of the conversation that happened on the bus.
Can you remember what AR's attitude was like? Was he threatening in any way?
No, he wasn't threatening. I sat next to him on the bus to speak to him, and I wouldn't have done that if I felt intimidated at all by him.
How soon after you had sat with AR on the bus did PC Fairclough arrive?
It was quite soon after.
Thank you. Was there further conversation on the bus?
I can't remember.
At some stage, did you ask AR to get off the bus?
Yes.
And how did he react to that?
He was compliant and just walked off with me.
Thank you. And looking at paragraph 20 of your statement, at what point was the knife retrieved?
I believe it was retrieved almost as soon as we got off the bus. I believe PC Fairclough retrieved it.
And can you remember how it was retrieved? Was it given over willingly? Was there a search?
Unfortunately, I can't remember.
You tell us at paragraph 21 of your statement that PC Fairclough went to speak to the bus driver to ascertain whether any offences were committed. Could we just have that on page, please? It's on screen, please. It's page 5. Thank you. Paragraph 21. PC Fairclough went to speak to the bus driver to ascertain whether any offences had been committed. Are you able to just explain what you meant by that? What did you think PC Fairclough was doing?
Obviously, the driver of the bus had called police for some reason, so I believe PC Fairclough was just going to speak to him to find out why he called us and if there was anything that happened on the bus that was an offence.
You knew that AR was in possession of a knife in a public place?
Yes.
So was he ascertaining whether any offences had been committed?
Yes, I believe so. Or if, AR was threatening at all on the bus or had shown the knife.
You weren't part of that conversation, you tell us, and you can't remember what PC Fairclough told you was said, is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. We know from the timings that we just saw that you were, from the log, that you were with AR, or you radioed that you were with AR, and it was then recorded on the log at 3:06 and 22 seconds. Can we have up your radio transmission log? It's LANC 30255. Sorry, this isn't your radio log. I think it's PS Clark's radio log. But I think we see your entrance fall from the bottom because we see the 701719. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. And so we see that there was a private call with PS Clark at 3:07:42 and it lasted for 105 seconds. Do you see that entrance there?
Yes.
So that had occurred a little over a minute after you had first found, or you'd said that you were confirmed that you were with AR. I think you say in your statement you can't recall if you had any conversation with PS Clark directly yourself. Is that right?
That would be right.
PC Fairclough refers to using your radio to speak to PS Clark. Is that possible?
It's possible, but I can't remember.
He said he couldn't think of any reason why he would be using your radio. Do you have any idea?
No.
Could you hear what was said between PC Fairclough and PS Clark?
No, we weren't stood by him when he made that phone call.
Thank you. Just keep your voice up, please.
Yeah.
Thank you, PC Rhodes. So you said we weren't stood by when he made that phone call. You were there with AR. Did PC Fairclough step away so that he could speak to PS Clark out of the earshot of AR, do you think?
Yes.
But when PC Fairclough came back, did he have any opportunity to explain what had been said in that conversation to you?
Not exactly what had been said, but he informed me of the decision that had been made.
Fine. Was that conversation done in the presence of AR?
I can't remember.
Okay. Was this presented to you then as a decision that had already been made?
Yes.
And it's right, I think, that PC Fairclough had longer service than you.
Yes.
And obviously PS Clark was your senior in rank. Did you consider it part of your role to consider the approach and to input if you disagreed or had any views on it?
Yes, obviously we all have a role and a responsibility to do that if needed.
Thank you. If we could have up page 5, paragraph 24 of your statement. So you say, I think, that you agreed with the decision to return AR to his home address and not to arrest him. You refer to AR being cooperative, the knife being moved without resistance. When you say without resistance, as in AR had not been violent. Is that right?
Yes.
But you're not able to say whether it was given up voluntarily or not?
Yes.
And no suggestion that AR had brandished the knife, etc. At that stage, you had, we've seen the radio transmissions that had received. You then attended scene and you'd, I think, been with AR from the point of arrival until the point that you left?
Yes.
Had you had any opportunity, before I ask that question, were you aware of whether PC Fairclough and PS Clark had taken into account other information about AR when making their decision?
No, I wouldn't have been aware of that.
Because you weren't aware of the call. Were you ever told at any stage by PC Fairclough that he'd made any checks, for example, on a PNC or Storm or anything like that?
I wasn't told directly that information. I think I had assumed that PC Fairclough had done those checks.
Thank you. Did you consider it part of your role to conduct any background research on AR to satisfy yourself that the correct approach was being taken?
I think on the day at the time of that incident, I was relying on PC Fairclough, that he'd been dealing with AR prior to me attending this incident, and that he would have that information available. So I hadn't completed them checks.
How, if you had wanted to make your own checks, how in practical terms would you have done that?
I would have used my Samsung to do PNC checks and Connect checks.
Thank you. And would you have been able to do that whilst you were with AR, do you think?
Yes, it would have been possible.
Okay. And I think you accept, if we look at paragraph 9 of your statement and paragraph 42, looking at the page 9, paragraph 42. So jumping a bit later in your statement, but just looking at your comment here at the middle of paragraph 42, I was not aware of that information, which is about AR's history in 2019. At any point throughout my time dealing with AR, I am unsure as to whether I would have checked Connect for previous investigations or intelligence. if I had checked Connect, I would have been able to view investigations relating to AR that had been created by Lancashire officers. Is your memory now that you didn't carry out the checks, or that you're unable to say?
I think because I didn't have any knowledge about his previous investigations or any other reports, that I have assumed that I hadn't done them checks. Otherwise, I would have known that information.
Okay. And if we look at the next paragraph, asked whether I was aware that AR had previously been convicted in 2020 for possession of a bladed article, possession of an offensive weapon and assault occasioning ABH. I was not aware of those convictions. I do not recall checking Connect in relation to AR. So we take from that you weren't aware of the knife history that AR had, correct?
Yes.
I think you go on to explain in that paragraph 43 that if you had checked, you wouldn't have been able to locate the investigation that related to the conviction because it was a Merseyside police matter. Is that right?
Yes, so on Connect, we wouldn't see investigations from other forces. It is primarily our own investigations on Connect.
And what about the PNC?
I'm aware that PNC checks show positive convictions.
And you would have been able to carry out those checks, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Would you have been able to do that using the Samsung?
Yes, I know now that when we do PNC checks on our current system, it does show the previous convictions. I can't remember if at the time that the system was the same.
Has there been a change in the system?
I'm not sure.
And in the following paragraph, you tell us that you're now aware that AR had been referred to prevent, and you say that that wouldn't have appeared on Connect. Is that right?
That's true, yes.
Would you have had access to intelligence reports that were made about AR?
Yes.
Okay. And is it right you didn't check those either?
Yes, so those intelligence reports would be on Connect.
Thank you. What about your ability to get access to information held by other agencies? So mental health services, for example. Would you have had any ability to get information about AR's mental health whilst you were responding to this incident?
If we had called the mental health team, yes, we'd be able to gain that information.
And how, in practical terms, would you have done that?
There's a phone number that we can ring.
Thank you. And would you have thought to call social services or the MASH in this situation?
I think we could have called social services. That was an option.
And you were able to say why that option wasn't taken?
I can't say why that option wasn't taken.
In hindsight, do you think that it should have been at some stage?
In hindsight, it might have helped to assess the situation and his mental health at the time.
Thank you. So you've explained the practical constraints on your ability to search for information. But do you agree now that in terms of your ability to take issue with the arrest, you didn't have really any of the information that you would need to make that decision?
Yes.
And if you had known about the background that you know now, would that have changed your assessment?
It would have done, yes.
Would you have considered arrest at the scene for AR's possession of the knife?
Knowing all that information, yes.
Thank you. Can we have up again, please, the operational competence submission, which is at LANC 30246. Thank you. And can we have page 2 of that, please? And if we could just enlarge the text. So, looking at the bottom third of that section, you give a bit more detail about what happened at the scene. You say that you communicated with AR to get him calmly off the bus. Verbal communication is an effective first step in preventing a situation from escalating. You suggest that PC Fairclough searched AR and found a knife on him. Given this was made quite close to the time of the events, do you think that's accurate?
Yeah, that's probably accurate.
If the knife was found on a search rather than being given up voluntarily, would that have raised your assessment of the risk that AR presented?
No, not necessarily.
And why is that?
Because PC Fairclough could have decided to detain AR for a search before given the chance to hand the knife over. So that assessment couldn't have been assessed.
And you're not able to help us with exactly how that happened?
Sorry, say
You're not able to remember, I think, exactly how that happened?
No.
After updating the sergeant, the decision was made to return the boy home. It was easy to recognise this boy was vulnerable due to his age and his learning difficulties, and it seemed that he needed our support rather than punishment. At that point, you didn't know what mental health input AR was receiving, did you?
No.
And you obviously didn't have the background, such as the offending history, to assess the risk that AR presented with. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
In retrospect, do you think that you were overly reliant on AR's presentation in terms of his manner, age, and compliance when deciding or giving your input on the approach to take?
Yes.
And your last sentence about that he needed support rather than punishment, is that a slightly either-or approach? In other words, this is either a mental health issue or criminality. Would you agree?
Yes. I think that also comes from studying criminology at university. Obviously, during that learning, we know that children who are put into the criminal justice system often don't get out of that system, and it can worsen their behaviour.
Do you accept that the reality is that a mental health condition could increase the risk that someone presents with?
Yes.
Thank you. Moving now to the drive back to AR's property, you left the scene, I think, at about 3:10, and you sat in the back of PC Fairclough's vehicle with AR. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. You tell us at paragraph 26 of your statement that journey time was about 12 minutes?
Approximately.
Approximately. And you use that time to speak to AR about why he felt the need to carry the knife. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. And I think you explained you were doing this because you knew that you'd be submitting a vulnerable child report, and presumably you wanted as much information as possible for that report. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. Can we have your statement up, please, at page 6? Thank you. Paragraphs 27 to 29, so the bottom half of the page. And you give account of what AR said, although you give the caveat that you can't recall the exact questions that were asked or the answers given by AR word for word. But AR was saying there was a video on TikTok that he was being bullied for and he wanted it deleted, but he couldn't do so. You can't recall if you asked what the videos were about, but I remember AR saying that he believed if he did something wrong and the police were involved, then the police would take his phone off him and delete his social media accounts. I can't remember whether he said it was his psychologist or psychiatrist, but someone in that kind of profession that had told AR this information. What was your view on what you were being told by AR at this stage?
It's obviously not correct information, and I'm not entirely sure why a psychologist or psychiatrist would have given him that information.
And you say at paragraph 28 that you effectively corrected AR, saying that that wasn't true, but he didn't believe you and was adamant that what he was saying was true. Was he argumentative with you?
He wasn't argumentative in an aggressive way, but I do remember him sort of disagreeing with me when I said that what he was saying wasn't true.
Did you think that he was very focused or fixated on this issue?
Yes.
And then paragraph 29, I remember asking AR whether he understood the seriousness of what he had done by committing the offence of being in possession of a bladed article. AR seemed completely unfazed. He showed no emotion throughout your interaction, and you can't recall any further conversation, I paraphrase. Was this further concerning information to you?
Yes.
Might it have suggested that if AR didn't appreciate that something was wrong, that he presented with an ongoing risk?
Yes.
Can we have up the log, please, for the missing persons? That's Lank 4045. Could I just ask you, while we're here at the bottom of this page under qualifiers, we see, I think, a warning marker for vulnerable. Are you able to help us with the disposal qualifiers, including the one for weapons? Do you know what that means?
I'm not sure seeing it in this way, if that makes sense.
Would you see a log presented in this way as a response officer?
Yes. Does it refer to markers?
Well,
as such?
I wondered if you might be able to help us, because I see that the one from the bottom is warning markers for vulnerable. You're not able to help with the disposal qualifiers?
No, the only thing I could think of, would it be markers for weapons?
Were you aware of any markers at the time that were on AR?
No, I wasn't aware of any markers.
Could we move to page 9, please? And I think we want the bottom of the page, please. So this is an entry, I think, not made by you, is that right?
Are you referring to SB Car 9 Earlys, that entry?
Yes, sorry, yes, I see, 9E at the top, we see, thank you. So it's PC Fairclough who's made this entry?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. And the second of the substantive text is some concerning remarks about wanting to stab people and made poison. He's under the impression if he commits what he calls a serious offence, the police can help him delete his social media accounts. So we see, I think, similarities with the account you've given in your statement, but there's further information here, isn't there, about wanting to stab people and made poison. Do you remember that?
I can't remember exactly the words he used about this wanting to stab people. In terms of the poison, I can't remember anything to do about that conversation, unfortunately.
You wouldn't be able to help on whether AR mentioned making poison or made poison?
No.
Do you accept that the record is likely to be accurate as a contemporaneous one made shortly after the events?
Yes.
And do you agree that those comments were very concerning?
Yes.
in addition to the information that you remember being given in your account in your statement?
Yes.
And would you agree that making those comments in the back of a police car to two police officers is perhaps particularly surprising?
Yes, it is surprising.
I think you accept that in your statement, with the experience you have now, you would have looked to obtain more information if you had known or heard these things said.
Yes, I think I would have had more professional curiosity to ask further questions.
And what sort of questions would you have been asking?
How he had tried to make poison, what he's got to make that, when, how he's planning on using it, and obviously in terms of wanting to stab people, who and why.
Thank you. Can we have on screen, please, page 12 of your statement in paragraph 51? You tell us, you're asked, or you respond to the question whether you considered revisiting the decision not to seek a criminal justice outcome when AR told us, "I want to stab someone. I did not revisit the decision not to seek a criminal justice outcome, and I am unable to recall why." I think you're accepting there that you should have done. Is that right?
Yes.
And aside from your recall, as you can't remember why, could you help us as to what the underlying reasons might have been?
Obviously, I don't remember at the time why I didn't seek it. We should have, spoke about it and rang a sergeant about it at the time.
So the reason I ask PC Rhodes is that for the inquiry it needs to consider recommendations, which includes identifying why things might have happened as they did. I mean, do you think it was an issue with your training, with your experience?
I think it was more experience, and obviously the view that we had at the time was that AR was a child and he was vulnerable. Obviously when a child says that to you, you don't necessarily take it as seriously as what we should have done.
In terms of your experience being an issue, you could have radioed to PS Clark about these comments, couldn't you?
Yes.
Did you do that? Did you consider doing that?
I don't think I did, no.
Okay. Could we have up, please, LANC 30285? Thank you. And page 3, please. I think we see at 329.53, so is it 6 up from the bottom? 7 up from the bottom. This is a record, I think, of a call being made to PS Clark, so at 329.53. Sorry, I think it's actually the entry below that that's been highlighted, which lasted for 179 seconds. Do you remember that?
No.
By that stage, would you have completed your journey back to AR's house?
Yes, I think we had, yeah.
So you said it was a 12-minute journey time, and I think we had you leaving the scene at around 3:10. By the time of this conversation, you would have received the further concerning disclosures from AR. Is that right?
Yes.
wasn't this an opportunity to revisit that arrest decision based on that information with P.S. Clarke?
Yes, it would have been a good opportunity.
Yeah. And I think P.S. Clarke's evidence will be that he wasn't aware of that. Are you able to help us on why you didn't raise it in your call with P.S. Clarke?
I can't recall why.
Thank you. Notwithstanding your inexperience at this time, do you accept that the failure to reassess this further information was a significant oversight?
Yes, I do.
And that you did have the knowledge at the time to assess that information and take further action?
Yes.
Thank you. If you had assessed it and decided to arrest AR, are you able to help us on what steps you would have taken thereafter?
AR would have been taken to custody, and his detention may or may not have been authorised at that point.
With the background that you'd received and knowing his full history, do you think that he may have been authorised for detention?
Potentially not.
But certainly there would have been an interview and follow-up of a criminal investigation. Do you agree?
Yes.
And would you have wanted to search AR's home?
It depends what he was arrested for. And it wouldn't have been my decision to have searched his home either way.
So you would have sought input, you would have told this to P.S. Clarke and asked?
Yes.
Thank you. Moving now to your return to AR's home, I think you recall AR's mother being present, is that right?
Yes.
But you don't recall AR's father being present?
Yeah, I just can't remember if his father was there or not.
Thank you. You returned the knife, so I think AR's mother suspected already that the knife had been taken, but that was confirmation that the knife had been taken by AR out of the house and into a public place for her, correct?
Yes.
You tell us at your paragraph 31 that you advised AR's mother to keep knives securely locked away. What was her response?
Just in agreement, I'd say.
In terms of the kind of long-term effect of that, do you agree that that was addressing a symptom but not the cause?
Yes.
And were you aware that the same issue had been raised with AR's mother in October of 2019 and assurances being given then about keeping knives locked away?
I wasn't aware of that at the time.
I think you say you can't remember PC Fairclough advising AR's mother that AR should get a mental health assessment that same day, is that right?
Yes.
So are you able to help at all on whether there were any discussions about AR's mental health with his parents?
I honestly can't recall any other conversation. I just remember that he did advise them to do that.
Thank you. And are you able to remember anything more about the conversation you had about knives with AR's mother?
Just that I advised to keep them secure and locked away.
And did you think that advice was taken seriously?
His mother gave the impression it was taken seriously. I obviously can't speak on behalf of her whether she took it seriously or not.
And did you consider AR's mother to be shocked or alarmed at the fact that AR had gone missing with a knife?
I don't think she was shocked.
Thank you. And are you able to help us with anything else about your interactions with AR's mother at the house? Do you remember anything further?
No.
You were then returned by PC Fairclough back to your car, and we've seen, I think, already the entry made on the log by PC Fairclough. Is this right? You made a protecting vulnerable persons report.
Yes.
Thank you. And I think we can see that in LANC 4082. Can you remember when you made that report?
It was the same day. I think it was slightly later than the incident.
Thank you. Could we have up page 2, please? Thank you very much. And under the log entries, could we see the third entry, please, which I think is information received from you, which we can see was at 6:05. AR was found trying to catch a bus, which he did not have money for. AR was in possession of a small kitchen knife and said he was planning on stabbing someone so that police would get involved, etc. AR was given strong words of advice regarding this, but it's believed he was having a mental health episode, so he returned home and high-risk PVP submitted. Did you know that AR was having a mental health episode?
That's the information I was given at the time by PC Fairclough.
Was that the wording that PC Fairclough used?
I can't remember if it was the exact wording.
Would you agree that you didn't have the information that would be needed to assess that?
Yes.
The suggestion in terms of referring to an episode might be that those actions were out of character for AR. Do you see that?
Yes.
Did you have reason to think that was the case based on the conversation you'd had with AR in the back of the police car where he had effectively maintained his position?
I did believe at the time that it was out of character because I wasn't aware of the previous reports or the intelligence.
Thank you. So you submitted the high-risk vulnerable child report on Pronto, you tell us in your statement, and that would have also led to an Operation Encompass referral to the Acorn School, is that right?
Yes.
Can we have up, please, LANC 4088? Sorry, I think my reference was wrong before. I think this is where we have the report itself. Thank you, and if we could just enlarge the body of the text. So, there I think we see your summary of events. Do you see that in the middle paragraph, the last sentence, AR said he was going to use the knife to stab someone for this reason and had previously tried to make poison for the same reason. Do you know, are you able to help us with where you got that information?
I'm not entirely sure if I've remembered that information at the time of writing this report from the conversation, or if I've got that information from the incident log from PC Fairclough's update.
That you would have been party to the conversations in the back of the car, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. We see, I think, the next paragraph, you refer to ADHD and autism and move to a school that specialises for this, and it's possible that this is why he suffered a bad mental health episode today as he was due to meet his teachers. Maybe that extra background explains the entry that we were seeing before, is that right?
Yes.
There's no mention in this entry of previous offending. Is it right that you hadn't carried out the background checks still when you submitted this report?
I can't recall if I had or not.
If you had seen them, you would have included them in the report, wouldn't you?
Not necessarily.
And why is that?
These reports that we put in don't always include the previous incidents. We primarily just report on the incident that we have attended.
And should the fact that AR was resistant to support or to your input in the back of the car have been included in this, do you think?
Yes, it could have been helpful.
You tell us in your statement the report was processed by the Safeguarding Support Officer Whitaker from the MASH the next day. Would you expect to see the outcome of that or any further updates?
No, I wouldn't expect that.
And you had no further involvement with AR afterwards. Is that right?
That is right.
Did you, in addition to the referral we've seen, consider making a referral to Prevent?
No, I didn't.
And you were able to explain why?
I'm not sure if that would have been through a lack of understanding, knowledge or experience, or if it's because that it didn't raise the alarm bells in my head at the time to put the Prevent referral in.
You talk about lack of knowledge and experience. Would you take a different approach now?
I would seek advice.
Yeah, thank you. Is it your view that someone needs to have an ideology, for example, a political or religious motivation for a Prevent referral to be made?
Yes.
That is your view. Yeah, thank you. In terms of who held AR's risk, I think by the time your involvement was ended, would you agree that AR had shown a number of examples of concerning behaviour and did illustrate a risk?
Yes.
And that risk was to others, not to himself?
Yes.
In hindsight, do you agree that the opportunity was there for you and Lancashire Constabulary to take steps to address those risks?
In hindsight, yes.
Thank you. But in sort of broader terms and the longer term, who did you think held responsibility for assessing and addressing AR's risks?
It depends what risks in that sense. Obviously, we all have a role, so the police would have had responsibility in terms of a criminal risk, and obviously the mental health services would have had the responsibility for the risks around his mental health. So in some sense, we all had that responsibility.
But in the wider picture, in your view, did anyone have responsibility for managing ARs holistically?
No.
Yeah. You talk at the end of your statement, I think, about improvements, and you refer to better information sharing between GMP, Merpol and Lanc. So are you able to just explain that in your own words?
Yes, so where I work in Skelmersdale, we borderline GMP and Merseyside. Any intelligence that's on their systems, we won't see because it's not on our systems. So in terms of Connect and prior investigations, anything like that, we don't have access to from those forces. So part of my recommendations was that the information should be shared better and differently than how it was then.
Thank you. Those are all the questions I have for you. I will look around to see if anyone else does. I think Mr. Bowen.
Thank you very much. You're free to go now.
Thank you.
Thanks. We're 1 o'clock, Mr. Boyle.
So it would seem to be a convenient moment to break. We have PS Clark to give evidence this afternoon and Mr. Corrie.
Grand. Thank you very much. We'll sit again at 2.